Hi, my name is Vicky. This is Rumi, Rumi, after the poet. He's so happy, his little tail. Well, his little tail was wagging. So, I'm starting this channel because I'm almost 60 years old, and I've come to the realization that I might have, I hate this term, daddy issues. And I'm hoping there's some of y'all out there that can relate to that. So my life has done some crazy twists and turns the past few years, and I find myself single when I didn't expect to be at 60. I moved 1,000 miles, maybe 1,000 miles. Felt like 1,000 miles. I moved about 4 states and had to start over. And it was terrifying, to say the least. So I got divorced in 2024. This is now middle of 2026. And the thought of dating somebody all over, just starting the whole process all over again, just seems overwhelming and terrifying and makes me disinterested. My last relationship was 18 years. So just before I turned 40, I met somebody. Of course, I met him at work, which turned out to be okay. And that was back when I drank a lot, because life, I guess, to me, just seemed funner if I was out drinking every night. And I like to shoot pool. Well, of course, that typically comes with drinking beers. So I don't drink anymore. I don't like how it makes me feel out of control. Before, it didn't bother me. It was just on to the next adventure after the beer, And you don't bounce back like you used to the older you get. So I don't like spending the whole next day recovering from drinking. So going to a bar to look for a mate doesn't seem very appealing to me. I went out on one date and yeah, the guy was a bit much. And he was actually a couple years older than I am. And he still acted like an irresponsible 21-year-old. It wasn't for me. And but as I think about men and I see men that are the same age as I am, they remind me of a grandfather. Potentially my grandfather. Like they just look so old. And that just doesn't appeal to me. And then my father, who I didn't really get enough attention from, or I got really too much criticism from, and wasn't around enough when I was a young girl. I don't know if that's daddy issues. I know the relationships that I've been in. So my father was somewhat of a narcissist, I think. Probably an overt narcissist. Not really a grandiose. He had his times. He wasn't necessarily mean, like hateful mean, but he could be insensitive and rude in some inappropriate times. He always wanted attention. Now, my father was 6'7". That alone drew attention, because my father's been gone 8 years, 7 years, 8 years. So growing up in the 70s and 80s, my formative years, I was born in the 60s. He was tall. He's, 6'7". Everywhere we went, he got attention. And then you pile on top the fact that my dad was a federal marshal. So we had the badge on the waistband and a gun. And he got attention wherever he went. And he liked it. And he always had to have a nice car and a nice watch, even when we couldn't afford it. And there's different situations where when he was somewhere and he wasn't getting attention and we had to go back to that same kind of environment, he would just stop being interested in going, And I knew why, because he wasn't getting any attention while he was there. So, your typical narcissist, if they're not going to get attention, they're not going because they care about the people they're going to see, and want to be there for somebody else. They're going because they want attention. And then when they stop getting attention, then they stop wanting to go. So I didn't realize when I was growing up my father was a narcissist. I didn't realize that. I didn't even realize anything about a narcissist until 5 years ago, at that. The father of my children was a narcissist. He passed away. We divorced in 2003. He passed away in 2022. Yeah. And so I ended up marrying a narcissist because that's what I was used to. I didn't know, okay, my dad's a narcissist, I gotta go find a narcissist. It's just what your nervous system is used to. That's how you end up being attracted to different kind of people. I've come to learn a lot as I've gotten older about what we're attracted to and why. So there's women that are attracted to bad boys. Well, they're attracted to bad boys because their nervous system picks up on those vibes. That's familiar to them. They get drawn to that. That's usually what their father was. this bad boy or that same kind of energy, you know. So you get drawn to that. So I've been working on myself the past, couple years. I was working on myself before that. And then my ex-husband kind of screwed it all up and set me back even further than I should have been. And so now I've been trying to work on it again to get my nervous system regulated. So right now my nervous system is like, nope, no men. We don't need men. Nope. You see a good looking man or a nice man and you're like, oh, maybe. And then my body's like, nope, I'm not interested. My nervous system is like, nope. And I'm sure, it's going to take time because I've been drawn to that, more of that narcissistic energy. My ex-husband was more of a covert narcissist. Probably more like a borderline personality disorder, but it kind of overlaps with the covert narcissist. So you kind of can spot it now. I can see all this little stuff. I can see the emotional immaturity in men. Am I zeroing in on red flags? I don't think so, because I don't go around people and just look at what's wrong with them. I look at the whole person. I understand we are a whole people. We've all had experiences. We all bring our own baggage to everything, to work, to friends, to family, to relationships, and even potentially to animals. If we had a bad experience with an animal, do you think you're going to want another animal? No, but just because I might have had a bad experience with this other dog or cat doesn't mean I wouldn't want to try again with this precious little thing. Hi, baby. Oh, you're so happy. I know. So he hears me talking and he thinks it's to him because I live alone. And if I'm talking, I'm either on the phone to my brother and he still gets excited because he thinks it's to him. So, but outside of when I'm on the phone and I'm talking, it's always to him or my cat. I have a cat. So, Lily, right? We have Lily, don't we? Yes. We have Lily and Rumi. Yes. So when I'm talking, he thinks it's to him or the cat. So he wants to be all like, I need to get closer to you, Mom, because you're talking to me. It'd be nice if we would just go on. But nope. He thinks I'm talking to him. So if I want another relationship, which I do, I loved being married. I'm the marriage material. I used to be the girlfriend material. Okay, I'm gonna own up to something. So I'm 59 and a half years old. I've been married 5 times to 4 men. Please don't judge me. Please don't judge me. I know it sounds insane and it sounds horrible and it sounds like there should be red flags all the way around me, but that's not the case. So 2 of those 5 marriages, I'll use the word marriage, were 2 years or less. My first one, to get out of the house with my dad. We had dated for a year. I turned 18, we got married. By the time I was 20, we were divorced. He was 4 years older than me. So I was 18, he was 22. He might have been 5. I think he was 23. And, yeah, it was a stupid reason to get married, just to get out of my dad's house. So then my second marriage was the father of my daughters. And that relationship lasted 18 years. And then I had to get out. It's like, nope, can't do this anymore. And there was different reasons, and maybe one day I'll tell you why. So that was 18 years. The first one was 2 years. So now we're at 20 years. And so my third marriage, this one lasted just over a year. This was a guy I met in a bar that was probably one of the worst narcissists out of all of them. That's the energy you're attracted to. That's, if my father is a narcissist and I'm trying to get attention, I'm trying to get love, I'm trying to get approval, it's the narcissist. And the narcissist will just throw these little love bombs at you. And you're like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. And these little compliments, oh, thank you. And then they pull them back. And then they give them back. And they pull them back. So that's what my dad did. He'd be here and then gone, and here and gone, and here and gone, and criticism here, and oh, you did good here, and another criticism. It's that back and forth tumultuous relationship with my father that put me in the position of these men who did the same thing. So my third, met him in a bar, and sadly, because of my life choices, I needed somewhere to live. I was like days away from living in my car. Whole nother story we could talk about another time. So I moved in with him the next day and married him 3 months later. Did not know him at all. Saying this after the fact. And because he presented himself as one way, and discovered later, I'm like, this is not the same guy that I met and married. So that one lasted about a year. That one actually ended up having to get an EPO, and he committed suicide before we even got divorced. So that tells you about that marriage. Okay, so now we're at 18, 20, 21 years. And then my next future ex-husband, if we want to, might as well call it as it is. So, met him at work. And he's the only one that I married that was actually younger than me. First husband, 5 years older than me. Second husband, 4 years older than me. Third husband, 3 years older than me. Fourth husband, which was fourth and fifth husband. Fourth husband, 12 years younger than me. So I met him, I was 40 and he was 28. I highly recommend that. My bad. Too much information, but I highly recommend that. Anyway, so when that relationship lasted, 18 years. So I'm 60. Out of my, if you go back to, getting married at 18, out of my 42 years of being able to be married legally, which I did, out of those 42 years, you got 39 of them that I was married. If you took all of them and combined it into one marriage, it was 39 years. I mean, so it's not like I can't hang on to a marriage. It's not like I can't, uh, and I don't mean this to sound horrible. It's not, it's not like it was me, but it was me because of who I picked. Um, but, um, so if you take out the one for 2 years and the one for 1 year, you know, I had two 18-year relationships, um, which I think right there is pretty good. It's not like Elizabeth Taylor, who had 7 marriages. I think she could have had more. And I think each one of them only lasted 3 or 4 years. You know, if I had 5 marriages and each of them lasted only 3 or 4 years, yeah, I wouldn't be telling anybody. That would be my secret, you know. And, but I get it. It might be a red flag. I don't think it is. Um, if I dated a man that said he'd been married 5 times to 4 different women, but 2 of them were 18 years long, would I see it as a red flag? No. You know, but that's just me because it's my experience, I guess. So maybe I'm biased. But this is going to sound very obnoxious. But I could have been married more times than what I have, because I've dated men that wanted to marry me that I was like, no. You know, where they were good for as a friend or even a friend with benefits, but I knew enough not to marry them. Just something about that relationship just, you know, if I'm going to marry you, if we are going to get married, it's going to be forever. You know, I'm not going to be like, oh, this guy, I don't know, can't clean up after himself, I'm out of here. Or, you know, I don't give up on a relationship because of stupid reasons. I have very valid reasons for ending relationships, for ending the first one at 2 years and ending the third one at 1 year. So, and then the other 2 at 18. And honestly, the one that I just got out of, I didn't want to end. But, so we got divorced when I was 57, before I turned 58. So I was 57 and he was 45. You know, I met him at 28 when he was kind of a dork looking. And I taught him everything he knows about sex. I taught him how to dress. I taught him maturity. I taught him responsibility. I taught him, we got him different glasses because his glasses were god awful. And he just got better looking. And I think his ego got massive. And I think he decided at 45 he didn't want to be with somebody that was pushing 60. And I can't really blame him. I can't blame him. When you're a 45-year-old good-looking man, why you want to be with, I mean, unless I was like Cher or, you know, somebody that had the money to preserve my good looks forever. But he got into cheating and lying and manipulating and then talked me into remarrying him. That's the only reason why I've been married 5 times. and then went right back to his old ways. And so I had to tap out and move back home to my home state because it got very toxic. And that wasn't a good place to be. So now just diving back into the whole, let's see about dating. What's this whole dating thing gonna be like? And discovering 60-year-old men look like 60-year-old men. Sometimes they look like 75-year-old men. And I'm like, So, it's a strange world. But anyway, so I'm making this channel. And we're going to see where it goes. Sorry, my nose itches. Ugh. Thanks to allergies. Thank you. And we'll see where it goes. And if you want to come along and we can, figure out this whole single life. I got plenty of stories. Oh my God, do I have stories. I've had a great life. I really have. I'm a truck driver. That's been interesting. It's been highly lucrative. And it's allowed to let me see the United States. Otherwise, I would never been able to travel to California or New York City or North Dakota. I've been to California more times than I can count. So I'd love to have you come along on my journey. We'll figure out life together. Right, Rumi? My sweet boy? Okay, I know. So, I'm going to try and post every day. And I'll just start telling you some of my stories of my life. And maybe some of y'all can relate. And you could share your own stories. Ask me questions. I was a truck driver. I still am for 16 years. So, hi, baby. So, I'm old school until I learn how to edit videos. These are all going to be... I can't remember if there's a word for this or not. But they're all going to be au naturel. I don't know. No editing. So when I have to turn off this video, you're going to see my hand come across and push the button. But I hope to see y'all soon. I hope you're sitting with me again, listening to my stories, sharing your stories. But I'll see you soon. Have a good evening, and I love you guys. Bye.